The Luxor Temple is a large ancient Egyptian temple complex located on the east bank of the Nile River in the city today known as Luxor and was constructed approximately 1400 BCE. It was one of the two primary temples on the east bank, the other being Karnak. Unlike the other temples in Thebes, Luxor temple is not dedicated to a cult god or a deified version of the pharaoh in death. This one is King Ramses II statue. The statues are made by only one stone. Luxor temple is dedicated to the rejuvenation of kingship. It may have been where many of the pharaohs of Egypt were crowned in reality or conceptually, as in the case of Alexander the Great, who claimed he was crowned at Luxor but may never have traveled south of Memphis, near modern Cairo. To the rear of the temple are chapels built by Amenhotep III of the 18th dynasty and Alexander. Other parts of the temple are built by Tutankhamun and Ramses II. During the Roman era, the temple and its surroundings were a legionary fortress and the home of the Roman government in the area. During the Roman period, a chapel inside the Luxor temple, originally dedicated to the goddess Mat, was transformed into a tetrarchy cult chapel and later into a church, and then converted to mosque in 640 AD, which is more than 3400 years of continuous religious worship. The Luxor temple was built with sandstone from the Jebel el Silsila area, which is located in southwestern Egypt. This sandstone is referred to as Nubian sandstone. It was used for the construction of monuments in Upper Egypt, as well as in the course of past and current restoration works. Like other Egyptian structures, a common technique used were symbolism or illusionism. For example, to the Egyptian, a sanctuary shaped like an Anubis jackal was really Anubis. From the Middle Ages, the population of Luxor had settled in and around the temple at the southward end of the mount. Due to this, centuries of rubble had accumulated to the point where there was an artificial hill some 14 to 5 to 15 meters in height. The Luxor temple had begun to be excavated after 1884. The excavations were sporadic until 1960. Over time, accumulated rubbish of the age had buried 3/4 of the temple, which contained the courts and colonnades which formed the nucleus of the Arab half of the modern village. Not only was there rubbish, but there were also barracks, stores, houses, huts, pigeon towers, which needed to be removed in order to excavate the site. There still exists a working mosque within the temple which was never removed. This image is Alexander the Great. And next image, Pharaoh saw a 7 fat cow dream. The dream was solved by Prophet Joseph. The king of Egypt said, I do see 7 fat kine, whom 7 lean once devour, and 7 green ears of corn, and 7 withered. O ye chiefs, expound to my vision, if it to be that ye can interpret vision. The Luxor temple was built during the New Kingdom and dedicated to the Theban triad consisted of Amun. his consort Mat, and their son Khonshu, the focus of the annual Opet festival, in which a cult statue of Amun was paraded down in Nile from nearby Karnak temple. To stay there for a while with his consort Mat was to promote the fertility of Amun-Re and Pharaoh. However, other studies at the temple by the epigraphic survey team present a completely new interpretation of Luxor and its great annual festival. They have calculated that Luxor is the temple dedicated to the divine Egyptian ruler, or more precisely, to the cult of the royal Ka. Examples of the cult of the royal Ka can be seen with the colossal seated figures of the deified Ramesses II before the pylon, and at the entrance to the ground colonnade are clearly Ka statues. Cult statues of the king as embodiment of the royal Ka. Before excavation in 1960s, the temple sandstone fragments were in direct contact with salt-laden groundwater that laced into the stone. After excavation, exposure to change in humidity mobilized these salts and accelerated deterioration. Over 1,000 deterioration blocks and inscribed wall fragments underwent consolidation and treatment, which arrested their decay and allowed for early stages of reconstruction. A life-size statue of Ramses II's chief wife, Queen Nefertiti, intact to the knees, were recovered, cleaned, and protected. Missing portions of her legs were located, carefully returned to the statue, and also protected. The avenue known as Path of God, which went in a straight line for about 2,700 meters between the Luxor temple and the Karnak area, was lined with human-headed sphinx. In ancient times, it is probable that this replaced earlier sphinxes, which may have had different heads. 6 bark shrines serving as way stations for the barks of the gods during festival processions were set up on the avenue between the Karnak and Luxor temple. Along the avenue, the stations were set up for ceremonies such as the Feast of the Opet, which held significance to the temple. Each station had a purpose. For example, the fourth station was the station of Kameri, which cooled the air of Ammon. The fifth station of Kamari was the station which received the beauty of Ammon. Lastly, the sixth station of Kamari was a shrine for Ammon, Holy of Steps. Thank you everyone. Thank you very much.